What's going on there, Summoners? This is Marshall from MainDeck Masters, and today I actually have a deck profile for you guys. As you know, our proxy play series is going to be starting up soon, so we wanted to put out a couple of deck profiles to sort of show you what we've been working with, what we've been testing, and what you will probably be seeing coming up on the channel. Today, I have Mono Blue Hydras. The Hydra Turbo, the Aberration list, the Aberration deck, Hydra OTK, whatever you want to call it. This deck is absolutely nuts, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. Let's get into the deck profile. So here we go, guys. This is Hydras. First off, we're going to start with our magics. We're in this deck right now. We are playing 3 copies of Raging Tide. So, to give you a brief explanation why I'm playing 3 of this card protects you from weenies, it protects you from small creatures, and then also when you play Hydra on board, you can play this and wipe a board of nothing of small creatures. So then when you swing your Hydra, your opponent's forced to choose bigger creatures to get more mills and to just deal with bigger threats. So I think definitely Raging Tide is one of the better magics coming out of set 4, and it's definitely one of the better options that Blue's gotten so far. Next we have the staple. 4 strong draws. It's a graceful charity. What else is there to say? Draw 3, ditch 2. It's good. 3 flood streams. It's burning. It's Blue's version of Burning Force. Deals with anything up to 5. Can deal with 5 costs. Does a lot of work. Definitely lets you having on-spot removal for a lot of things is pretty good. Now we're gonna get into the off-color magics. I'm playing 4 ancient draws. So the reason I'm playing the 4 ancient draws is because, one, this deck makes a lot of cores very quickly. This deck can just spiral out of control when it comes to generating resources. So you have the cores to pay for this, but then also your win condition is sticking a Hydra on the board. Is putting a Hydra on the board and keeping it there. So being able to, in addition, draw 2, but then immediately check top 3 to get the Hydra is really good. And also, in some cases, the 5k buff from the second effect for this makes your Hydra swing over other Ascend Spirits. So they can't just trade Ascend Spirit for Ascend Spirit. Next we have 2 Dream Bombs. It deals with other Ascend Spirits, deals with other Hydras, deals with the Era, deals with the Prey Bird, the Tokiwa, deals with Genbu to a degree. Bouncing a Genbu is kind of not good. Bouncing an Era is not good. But with the way this deck functions, getting it off the board for a single turn can sometimes just win you the game.
So that makes sense. Do your table. Their classes.
4 Ice Shields, obviously. On to the Nexuses. Nexuses are kind of easy for this deck. We're playing 4 Volcanoes, 4 Labyrinth, and that's it. Like no other Nexus is needed. Volcano is here to just get back your Labyrinths if they get blown up. Like this is probably the most important card to see in this deck, because otherwise you really don't do a lot. Like you don't get your snowballing of resource gain. So this definitely made the deck a lot better. Now we move on to the spirits. So for our Aberration suite, we're playing the 4 Gladiator, 3 Metanor, 4 Deep Walkers, and that's it for our low drop suite of Aberrations. Deep Walkers, if you read the card, it explains it. Like, there's no reason not to run this card. On Ascend, he gets your Nexus back if it gets blown up. And then also, if he locks, he ramps you 1. And then he uses a 4-drop Aberration. Manticore, so one drop Aberration. it either pays for itself off the Nexus, or you immediate plus on cores. So it's just like, okay, cool, play this for 1, ramp 1 to 3 or 4. So you always net cores for this. You either break even or go positive on it, which is really good. And then Gladiator, he's a low drop aberration, but the biggest thing about this guy is he's a 5K for 1 core. He's one of the best low drops, I think, in the game, just because his starting stat line is really good. And then for 4 cores, he's an 8K, which trades or blocks a lot of things. So, and obviously we need to run aberrations in this deck because of our Sapphire Labyrinth, because that's the whole point of the deck. So after that, when it comes to low drop spirits, the last one we have is 4 copies of Pollen. You need to see your Nexuses, and that's what this card's here to do. You don't really care what you mill as long as you don't, okay, there's 3 Hydras. Well, I guess I'm out. So seeing this card definitely going like turn 1 or turn 2 is just really good, and just fetching the Nexus out of the top 5 is just phenomenal. Next we have 3 copies of Shark, 3 copies of Cthulhu Shark. Cthulhu Shark is a really good card, especially in this format that we're going into, because it's the board control that the deck really wants. And because it's an aberration, being able to play this, blow up everything except for what has a soul core, and then ascend into a Hydra off of this, means your opponent only has 1 spirit, you're going to have 3 attacks. They have to have an answer or they're going to die. Like, they're just going to lose the game. And then sometimes, shout out to Jacob, sometimes you can catch your opponent slacking a little bit, and they'll either pay with their soul core or they'll put their soul core in reserve, and then you can just play this and it's a blowout. So this card is definitely good. I could see 2 to 3 being run in a main deck, and then a 4th being put in your sideboard. Like, it's that good. And then last card for the deck, you know him, you've heard him. He's the big bad boogeyman, the Deepsea Emperor Hydra. He's the kill button. He's the I win the game button, and and arguably, I would put him next to Ira as the best Ascend Spirit, because just he's a win condition in and of himself. Like, immediately play, if you have 2 Nexuses, you can take someone from 6 to 0. If they don't, it forces your opponent to have an answer that turn, or they just lose. So, like, this card is absolutely stupid. And for those of you who don't know what it does, it ascends over any aberration, so any of our spirits in the deck other than Pollen. And then when he swings, your opponent chooses one of their spirits, they destroy it, and then they mill equal to the cost of the card. And then he has Raid 2, which means he swings. On swing, you can rest the Nexus to restand him and swing him again. So he's going to get 3 attacks for the most part, because you have so much Nexus search and you have so much draw on this deck, you'll be able to filter for the Nexuses you need, and you just go, okay, cool, bet. So that's it for the main deck. And as you can see, the deck is you'll see in our playtesting, some of our playtesting videos, and what you've heard around, like on Discord and on Facebook and on Twitter, this deck is very good, and this deck is I've seen some people call it the big bad boogeyman. Like, it's very scary, and it can just kill you out of nowhere, and it can just end the game. When it comes to sideboard options for this deck, sideboard varies from person to person, so I don't really like giving a dedicated sideboard, because obviously each person has their opinions and text that they think the deck needs. So if I were to point you in any direction, definitely more sharks. You have to have a max of 4 sharks. So you put the rest in your sideboard, whatever you're not playing. Seabed Lighthouses are really good to put in the deck, or to put in the sideboard for decks that aren't going to blow up your Nexuses constantly. So you can just play them and go nuts. They can't dream bomb you. They can't thorn prison you. They can't do whatever. One of the, and I will give you guys a little bit of a spoiler, one of the best sideboard techs that we've seen in this little bit of testing that we've been doing has been Counter Sword. Good lord. Being able to your opponent on summon plays a tiger, plays an Era, plays the Tokiwa, plays Genbu, just immediate on summon, being like any of those other Ascent Spirits, and being able to just spin it to the top of the deck and not have to deal with it for a turn is just absolutely fantastic. And then the life gain is also really good. So definitely, I would definitely look into picking up your full Counter Swords. Because I think it will be a very good card going into this next meta, especially because how things are shaping up in our playtesting. So, but other than that, that's pretty much the deck profile. We'll see you guys later. Be sure to look at the Twitter. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. Share it with your friends. We'll see you guys in the next time.